Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Want to go ahead and get to some breaking news from the beautiful place of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and involving Alabama football. Now, while you're watching this, Alabama basketball is probably playing Auburn. We'll talk about that probably on Friday's Aaron Torres pod. But I bring it up because obviously on the football side, it has been a crazy few weeks since Kalen Deboer got the head coaching job at Alabama. We've talked about it from every angle, every discussion, every conversation point, whatever. But I think if you're an Alabama fan, I think that the consensus has seemed to be this. Great X's and O's guy, great scheme guy, great on game day. But the big question would be, can this guy come to the SEC and recruit? Can he get the job done going up against Kirby Smart and Hugh Freeze and Brian Kelly and Steve Sarkisian and Brent Venables and all these sharks swimming in the waters of the SEC? Well, if Wednesday afternoon was any indication, I think our old buddy Kalen Deboer is going to be just fine, as he picked up really his first mega commitment at Alabama that, as best I can tell, really has no ties to him at Washington. He's picked up a couple really nice commitments from players that were either committed to him at Washington or played for him at Washington. But on Wednesday, Alabama got a commitment from five-star 2024 wide receiver Ryan Williams. One of the top players in this class was committed to Bama, decommitted when Nick Saban retired, and on Wednesday afternoon, Ryan Williams, drum roll please, he committed to that Alabama Crimson Tide football team, baby. That is right. Credit to Kalen Deboer, credit to his coaching staff, and I am here to tell you, this might be the first big one, but I promise you, this is not the last. Ryan Williams, I'll tell you, very interesting recruitment. As I said, this was a kid, a lot of phases to this kid's recruitment, okay? So he was a kid that was, again, in the class. First of all, he was in the class of 2025, okay? He was in the class of 2025, decides to reclassify, and at that point, he was committed to Alabama. He was not planning, even before Nick Saban retired, to sign until National Signing Day. And in the lead up to National Signing Day, even when Alabama had Nick Saban, the plan was to take other visits. He was going to visit Texas. He was going to visit Auburn, on and on. But I bring it up because over the last few days, it did start to feel like Ryan Williams would probably end up recommitting to Alabama. So he was committed. Then when Nick Saban decided to retire, decommitted. But over the last couple days, you started to see little whispers that maybe this was something that could ultimately end up happening. Did a couple interviews on Monday and Tuesday. You could kind of tell, that there was probably some stuff going on behind the scenes that we weren't quite aware of yet, but everything seemed to be trending towards Alabama. Then you started to see comments from current players, current recruits. Jalen Mbakwe was one who I know said something, who is very close with Ryan Williams. He also, on late Tuesday night, decided to cancel a visit to Texas. So the point I'm trying to make, everything was trending towards Alabama, and on Wednesday afternoon, it does become official. Now, listen, this is huge for Kalen Deboer, not just because it's his first big commitment, but I think it is because this kid committed to Kalen Deboer, not just because he is the head coach at Alabama, but because I think this kid understands the vision that Kalen Deboer has for him. And I think even more importantly, he understands what Kalen Deboer can do for him in this system. And listen, let me make one thing abundantly clear, okay? What I am not about to say is that Nick Saban retiring is a good thing for Alabama, okay? That is not what I am saying at all. But what I am saying is, if the GOAT is going to retire and you're going to replace him, you can do a lot worse than bringing in a head coach with his offensive coordinator, by the way. I still think Ryan Grubb should be the head coach at Washington, whatever. The bottom line I'm trying to make, though, is if Nick Saban is going to retire, you could do a lot worse than making the decision to bring in a coach that was part of one of the most productive offenses in college football over the last couple years. And so I bring it up because it was kind of interesting to me seeing so many players, especially on the offensive side of the football, either decommit or decide to transfer. Listen, every player should do what they want, but if you can't see what Kalen Deboer and Ryan Grubb can do for you as an offensive player, I don't know what to tell you other than just like turn on the film of like literally any Washington game. They pass the ball. They're going to have a quarterback go in the first round. They're going to have at least one wide receiver go in the first round, probably 2 or 3 in the first 2 rounds. And so I think what Ryan Williams saw was what Kalen Deboer can do for him. And I think that's why you have to be excited if you're an Alabama fan, because everybody is going to see this offense, see what they did at Washington and say, wait a second now, you're bringing that offense, the one that was put, I think like last year, they put up like 515 yards of total offense or something. Number 1 pass offense in 2022. Michael Penix, Heisman finalist, maybe should have won that award. And you're bringing that offense to the SEC. And I'm from Alabama. I'm from Georgia. I'm from Florida. And I don't got to go out to Washington to play that offense. And you're going to throw the ball 35 times a game. And I'm going to get 18, maybe not 18. I'm going to get 11 catches for 111 yards. Sign me up. And so again, I think this is only the beginning. I think Alabama, again, not saying Nick Saban, it's a good thing, right? And I'm not saying that he didn't recruit at an elite level at the quarterback and wide receiver positions. Tua, Bryce Young, wide receiver, Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, on and on and on, Jamison Williams, on and on. But I do think you are going to see a lot of those elite skill position guys say, wait a second, I can come in and I can do something special, and I can be surrounded by a great defense, by a great culture, by a great system. I think you're going to see a lot of that. Finally, let me also add this to kind of wrap. I think the idea that Kalen Deboer was not going to be able to recruit in the SEC was the biggest crock of you-know-what that I have ever heard. Now, one recruit isn't a be-all, end-all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's recruiter of the year and he's toppling Georgia and he's better than Kirby Smart today because they got Ryan Williams. It's not what I'm saying, okay? But what I am saying is the one thing about Kalen Deboer, and maybe it's because I live on the West Coast, I've been to a couple press conferences, I've been around him a little bit more. The thing that I respect about him, there's no ego, okay? And so if he, first of all, on game day, if something's working, he's going to go to it. He's not going to throw the ball 50 times a game because that's his offense. If you're giving him 10-yard runs up the middle, he'll take advantage of it. But I bring it up because it's the same in recruiting. If he doesn't have it figured out, he's going to bring in smart people who do. You know, listen, I'm not a recruiting guru, but between Courtney Morgan, his player personnel guy, who everybody raves about, between some of the assistant coaching hires, between the track record that he has in developing offensive players, I don't think recruiting is going to miss that much of a beat. Now, again, are we talking Nick Saban level 8 number 1 classes in 10 years or whatever it ended up being? Probably not. But are you going to bring in talent every single year via high school, via the portal? And when you stack it on top of each other, it will be enough to compete for national championships? I believe that it will be. Might not happen next year, might not happen the year before, might happen next year, but not the year after that. It's not going to be, like I've said a million times, it's not going to be, 6 titles in 13 years or whatever Nick Saban did. But he's going to bring in the talent. And I truly believe from the recruiting perspective, if he can't totally figure it out, he's going to bring in smart people who do. So Alabama fans, enjoy this. Congrats. Ryan Williams, the number 1 wide receiver in your area, one of the top wide receivers in 2024. He is a member of the Alabama Crimson Tide. It looks like he will sign and enroll. And boy, oh boy, that offense is going to be fun to watch next year. If you enjoyed this video, do me a quick favor. Make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. New videos going up every single day. Subscribe. Appreciate your support.